Hi guys, so now we're going to discuss a bit about personality and skills. So we're just going to go through a little framework with regards to how you answer these questions. Personality questions come up very frequently, so you need to make sure that you have a good structure to your answer, and you need to make sure that you've prepared your answer, but make sure that it doesn't sound very scripted as well. So let's think about some of the questions that they can ask you. Why should we give you a place? What attributes do you have that will make you a good doctor? And what is your best skill? So personality questions can come up in lots of different types of forms. So that's why we're going to go through this framework so that no matter what type of question you get asked, you'll have a set structure to your answer. So now we're going to go through MMI's 5-step method. So what's so good about this 5-step method is that essentially no matter what type of question you get asked, you can use the same structure and you can use the same examples every single time. Right, so let's jump straight into the 5-step method. So number one, you have to pick your 3 extracurricular activities. So let me give some examples from my personal experience. So number one, probably one of the activities that I'll talk about is the fact that I was head boy of my school. Number 2, maybe the fact that I was captain of my local cricket team, or that we won a particular competition in a cricketing activity, or maybe something like badminton or table tennis or football. And then my third choice would be maybe volunteering for NCS and actually doing some charity work with NCS and making a difference to society. So those are my 3 different activities. Again, just pause the video now and have a think about some activities that you're very proud of and you think are your proudest achievements. So one part to think about when you're picking these 3 different skills is to make sure that they're slightly different from each other. So maybe if you chose something like helping out or volunteering at a cancer research centre, but then also volunteering at Oxfam, these 2 are very, very similar from each other. So maybe pick something where you talk about leadership or teamwork, some place where you talk about maybe communication, and then something where you're showing a very different skill in a different environment as well. So the second part of the 5-step method is to now pick your skills. So pick skills that you believe you've developed and skills that you've shown throughout these activities. So some examples are communication, leadership, teamwork, empathy, adaptability, independence. Okay, so try and pick these skills that you are very passionate about and confident in talking about. So the third part of the 5-step method is you've now got your achievements, you've now chosen your skills, it's now about linking them together. So for example, when I did some charity work for NCS, I knew that I showed really good teamwork skills and I developed my teamwork skills there. But also I learned about empathy and actually understanding that when you work for a charity, you need to really understand why you're actually working for the charity. So for example, Oxfam, why are you actually working for them? Who are you helping? And that's those kind of sense of empathy skills that you're developing, you need to talk about. Again, if you did something that was more business-based in your charity work, then maybe you can talk about your work ethic and the fact that you worked really hard to maybe set up a stall to raise money for charity. So my other example of being head boy of my school, I can then talk about leadership, teamwork, organisation, and again something like communication, which is really important when you are leading a society or leading a school as well. So lastly, maybe being the captain of your sports team or the fact that you won a cup competition, that shows a sense of resilience or maybe even determination. And again, when you're the captain of a team or even a vice captain, that you are always showing a sense of communication and leadership. So again, maybe the talking about the captain of a team and being the head boy are 2 quite similar suggestions, so maybe think about making those 3 slightly more different from each other. So now you should have 3 different activities with different skills under each of these activities. Now some of these skills that you've mentioned might actually be repeated in the different activities. So what you need to start doing now is actually isolate a skill per activity. So for example, if I'm going to talk about teamwork, well, I know that I'm going to, if I get asked about teamwork, I'm just going to select one activity and talk about that in more detail. So that example that I gave, I'd talk about being the captain of my football or cricket team, and I would expand on teamwork and refer back to that activity. So if you found this slightly confusing, I'm going to show a few examples of what I just talked about later on. So Now we've got all our activities, and under each activity we've got a particular skill that is individual to that activity. So now what do we have to do in our next step in answering or structuring an answer to any type of question? Well, what we need to do is link to medicine. So for example, that skill that I selected about teamwork, which I then talked about the activity, I now need to link to medicine. So how do I link it to medicine? Well, you can maybe talk about a bit of work experience and explain that when you went on your work experience, you saw the importance of teamwork in the multidisciplinary team. But at the same time, you can say that in the future, I'm going to try and use these teamwork skills to help my colleagues and to make sure that we build a good relationship in the team as well. So let's think about a couple more examples. So maybe you can talk about leadership and linking that with medicine in the fact that you will be showing leadership to your patients and your colleagues. Again, with communication, you need to show communication to your patients to ensure a sense of trust and build a doctor-patient relationship. And finally, organisation. Well, when you're on the wards as a doctor, you need to organise and prioritise your patients and make sure that you're being efficient with your time as well. Now let's see an example of an actual candidate answering a question to what is your main strength?
I believe that I work well as a leader, so leadership is one of my strongest skills. As managing director of my young enterprise company, Derive, I developed the skills of delegation and management. I aim to be approachable to my team members and work hard to lead by example. This will serve me well as a doctor, a career in which I may manage teams in a lot of different settings.
So this is a really good answer because they have a good structure to what they're talking about. They're talking about the fact that they set up this company and Derive. They then talk about the fact that they learnt lots of different skills, and then they make sure that they link back to medicine at the end. So one thing that's really good about the answer as well is the fact that they discuss what they learnt, but actually how that was effective or why they learnt that skill. So make sure that if you are mentioning something like communication and the fact that you learnt about communication, explain what you learnt about it. Was it the active listening part of communication, or was it the fact that when you communicate with someone, you need to show good eye contact, or you need to use good hand gestures, or make sure that you are in a nice setting to be communicating well? So my final tip for personality questions is to be flexible. So if you get asked a question like, give me 3 adjectives that best describe yourself, then actually you probably won't have enough time to talk about the skill, the activity linking to medicine, the skill, the activity linking to medicine, and then the skill, the activity linking to medicine. That might be too long-winded, so actually you need to think about how you structure this answer. So make sure that you are giving those 3 adjectives, so those 3 skills, and then maybe only for one example you might expand in a bit more detail. So you might talk about the fact that you were head boy of your school, and then you can link that to medicine. But then the other 2 skills that you talk about, you can maybe link it in with the head boy of medicine, the head boy of your school, but maybe just not expand too much about it. So you just need to be flexible and you need to be adaptable in the way that you answer these questions, but make sure that in your head you have this set structure: skill, activity, linked to medicine, or activity, skill, linked to medicine. Thanks for watching this video. Click below to subscribe and catch more of our videos. To watch our full online course and find out how you can enroll onto our award-winning program with personalised one-to-one tutoring, online weekly webinars and more, click here.